Hi folks, and welcome to week 3 of 502. This week we'll be talking about trauma-related, stress-related, and anxiety disorders. But before getting started on the weekly, what to expect for the week and the readings and everything, I just want to mention again that the conditions presentation dialogue with your partner should be going on now, and if it doesn't go as planned, or if you've reached out to a partner and they have yet to respond to you, please send me an email to let me know. And if you are the person who hasn't responded to somebody, please do so. Group work really will help make the online program more tangible, and you can bounce your ideas off of one of another, and it can be really helpful throughout the process. Also, I'll be posting a video on the clinical vignette 1 along with this video this week. So this week we'll discuss the impact of trauma in the assessment and diagnostic process. Trauma-related conditions must be recognized and treated in order to determine if a person has an underlying mental health condition. Anxiety disorders are another focus for this week. So the objectives, readings, and media for this week. So the objectives are to gain a better understanding of trauma and stressor-related disorders. Students will learn about the symptoms and types of anxiety disorders, and students will reflect on the assessment of symptoms and when symptoms are classified as a disorder. Some people had questions on trauma last week, and from here on out we're going to just be getting further and further into the DSM-5. And hopefully you've checked my feedback. I try to give as much feedback as possible. I try to answer your questions. So if you feel like I didn't answer a question or you have more questions, please email me, because I don't want you to get lost in the shuffle, and I'm happy to help. So the readings for this week from Francis is chapter 7, and the DSM-5 is page 265 through 290. Both are on trauma and stressor related disorders. And then the Van der Kolk is developmental trauma disorder, and as always, if you click on this, it will bring you to the article. So then for trauma, you have to choose one of these to read. And if you're more interested in the adolescent population, you could click here, or if one of these titles speak to you more, you can pick one of those. So it's one of the trauma, all of the anxiety. So for the anxiety, it's Francis chapters 5 and 6 and DSM 189 through 233. And then for anxiety disorder, it's one of these articles. And we have 3 videos. And I believe somebody asked about how trauma can be biological, and this is where you're going to be able to find that answer, how trauma can change the brain. So you have to watch all of these videos. They're probably about an hour or so altogether. And what you'll find is the information that you've learned in the past few weeks starts building and building and building, and it will prepare you for your clinical vignettes. Okay, so week 3 discussion is on the diet conversation, again stressing that you should be conversating with your partner by now. So here you'll be talking about the advantages and disadvantages of the DSM-5 and what kind of diagnostic framework do or would you use. So follow with at least 2 classmates for this post. Okay, the next discussion is for trauma. From the set of trauma articles, complete the following. State which article you read. Describe what you thought were 3 main points that you learned by reading the article, and discuss practice implications of your learning. Please make sure that you're answering all of the prompts, and be sure to follow up at least 2 classmates. The last discussion post for this week is anxiety. We all experience anxiety. When do you think an anxiety that is experienced in everyday life becomes a disorder? Give an example of general anxiety that a person might experience on any given day and an example of anxiety that is diagnosable. Follow up with at least 2 classmates. Again, all of these posts, your initial are due on Thursday and your follow-up are due between Friday and Sunday. And then you have a quiz due this week, the social work shared case. Review the substance-related and addictive disorders and the trauma and stressor-related disorders categories in the DSM-5. So this is from last week. This is from this week. Using Anita from the Widener social work shared case example, you'll click here. Upload your answers to the questions below as a Word document in this assignment area and post your quiz answers in the week 4 discussion forum. So this week you're just posting it here and next week will be in the discussion forum. But you can always go ahead and post your answers ahead of time. So number 1, you'll make a list of Anita's behavioral manifestations, signs, and symptoms. If you have questions on behavioral manifestations, signs, and symptoms, I recommend you go back and watch Dr. Ginny Faulkner's assessment video. And if you have follow-up questions, you feel free to reach out to me. I know that they can be a little confusing. Next, review the 2 categories of diagnoses, substance-related and addictive disorders, and then the trauma and stressor-related disorders, and make a list of diagnoses you rule out. Again, these are all things that she talks about in the assessment video. Choose 1 diagnosis from each category, 1 from substance-related and addictive, and other from alcohol, and 1 from trauma and stress-related disorders to assess Anita for. Make a list of the symptoms and use Anita's behavioral manifestations, signs, and symptoms to support the presence of the symptoms for each diagnosis. So list a symptom, and then what is something that Anita does to show that symptom, to support the presence of that symptom. So if you have questions on that, because I can understand how that could be kind of confusing, please reach out to me. Does Anita meet the criteria for each diagnosis? Give a rationale for your answer. A lot of the work in this course is giving a rationale for your answer, so be sure to do that. And if there are not enough behavioral manifestations, signs, and symptoms to fully support your assigned diagnosis, what are risk factors that you see in Anita's life that may eventually lead you to your diagnosis if they aren't addressed early on? The purpose of this quiz is to practice associating behavioral manifestations, signs, symptoms to DSM-5. The instructor will post an example, so I will post an example of Anita's assessment after all the quizzes are submitted. So, and here is an example. So, this is a format that you could use, but it's not one that you have to use. If you don't want to use boxes, you don't have to do that. But this will help you kind of understand what you have to do. And you would submit down here. So that's really it for this week. If you have any questions, I know this assignment can seem kind of confusing, but if you have any questions, do reach out to me and be sure to actually read through this example. Okay? It shows good examples here of the symptom, insomnia, and then Anita will complain of trouble falling asleep and staying asleep. And you can, obviously, some of these are things that you're going to use also, so that's fine. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be posting the clinical vignette instructions this week also. And I hope that you all have a great week. We'll talk soon. Bye.